Hello and welcome to today's 5-Minute Friday. I'm delighted to be joined by Bernie Knobbe, who is the Head of Global Benefits, Wellbeing and Compensation at AECOM. AECOM are one of the world's largest engineering firms with 54,000 employees across the world. And Bernie, you and I, we've known each other for 10 years plus, from back in the days that you were in Yahoo. And for all the time I've known you, you have been super passionate about well-being, and at AECOM I've seen you implement something which has given you incredible foundations around well-being and has enabled the firm to respond really strongly to coronavirus. Bernie, thank you so much for joining me, and it'd be great if you could share a bit about your journey to global well-being.
Oh, thank you so much. And, we have known each other for over 10 years. You don't age. Unfortunately, I don't have that with myself, but it's a privilege to be here today and just share a little bit about our story. So this is actually our 4th year of Global Wellbeing at AECOM, and it really started as an idea around Wellness Day, which is in June on a global basis. And we thought, well, we probably need a week. So we decided to do a Global Wellbeing Week and to focus on 5 different pillars around well-being, the typical ones that you see. And what we found was a week just wasn't enough. So as we started planning for year 2, and especially on a global basis, we decided we really needed a month. So in year 2, we actually expanded it to a month. And then when we came up to year 3, we said, if we're going to do this right, it really should be 24/7, 365. So we decided just to have a year-round program, focus monthly on different topics. And then unfortunately, right when we were about to launch, year 3 is when the coronavirus global pandemic began. And so I call it a bit of a Field of Dreams movie. If you build it, they will come. We were fortunate to have done a lot of work, as you referenced, the foundation. And so we were prepared to be able to help address the needs of the business, and most importantly, the business of our employees, the talent in the organization. And so we've really spent the last 14 months continuing to evolve that journey and making sure that what we're doing supports the safety, health, and environment of our employees and of our business, but also of their families, and to be flexible enough to adjust with all the things that are happening, like working remotely and having some of the challenges that come with that. And of course, all the mental health challenges that also come from the stress that's been associated with this global challenge that we've all been facing. So year 1 was introduction. Year 2 was moving to a longer time period. And by year 3, it became a global program that really has, I'm proud to say, become really a culture and the DNA of AECOM, partnering with so many people within our organization. So it's been a great journey so far.
So as somebody who has built and run a company of less than 1,000 employees, I know how difficult these things are to get them to take off, but I can't get my head around the challenges and all of the obstacles that you must have faced in trying to make this happen within a company with over 50,000 employees across the world. So what were some of the obstacles, and how did you overcome them?
Yeah, well, there's always obstacles in what we do, right? I always like to say that if there's a problem, it's a challenge. And if there's an obstacle, it's an opportunity. So what we did is in year 1, we made it both a light and or a heavy program, depending on what each location, country, or region wanted to do. So we had global resources available through technology, but then on-site resources and how far the programs went for the activities was really dependent upon what the business could absorb and also what they thought was right for their particular situation. So year 1 was very much a choose what's right for you. And that enabled us to go global. I think back and we actually said, let's do our top 5 countries. And then we said, no, we need to have a country from every region. So we'll do 10. And then suddenly we were at 15. And by the time we finished, we said, we might as well just launch this everywhere. And then some people will go lighter and some will go heavier. And then we'll look at year 2 to be our true global focus. And that worked out really well, because in the places where people went light, they saw the success of the program for those who really made a really strong push. And so it sort of encouraged them to do the same in year 2. So that was sort of how we went from light to more heavy to what really is a program all year long. But I would say, budget is always a challenge. The global nuances, right? In certain countries, things are viewed differently than maybe they are in other parts of the world. And of course, we have limited resources internally as well as within our HR teams. And so just trying to find a way to leverage all the different aspects of the business. And our safety, health, and environment group was tremendously helpful because they have a lot of this in place already based on the work that we do. We design and we do engineering work, but we also do construction. And so we have to think about safety every day on our projects and for our employees. And so we were able to tie into that. And I always say an HR program is good, but if it's a business initiative, it's going to be more successful and more accepted. And that's what we were able to do.
So I love this idea of tapping into the business and utilizing what the business does in order to make it successful. I think that's really, that's a key takeaway from me, because so often people try and roll out these programs and they just don't get the traction that they're hoping to get. But from the sound of things, for you, you got the traction as a consequence of tapping into what the business is already doing.
Yeah, it was helpful there, and also just happened to have HR leadership that was very supportive. And I know you said I'm passionate around this, and had others that felt the same way. And I feel as if we were riding a wave that had already started in certain industries, high tech and other spaces. But I think we were sort of early on in our particular peer group. And I was really proud of that as well, that we went global. And now it's the conversation we have with everyone we work with. It's like, well, can you do this globally? And if you can't, why not? And how many places can you do it? So we've really gone from being, US domestic to international to really thinking about everything that we do globally. And that's worked really well. And honestly, a lot of our partners that we work with, they actually want to get there if they're not there now. And they're looking to partner with organizations like ourselves, to do that. But also when the coronavirus pandemic hit last year, all organizations were trying to ramp up in this space. And fortunately, we had already done a lot of the work to get started. So it gave us the initiative and it gave us the, momentum to move forward and do some things. But I guess, when you think of advice, what do you share with others about your journey? And if you speak at a conference or something, I call these aha moments, right? What did you learn and what can you take away? And so what I would say is, number one is be brave, be courageous. You don't have to be a hero, but you have to be willing to know that not everything will go right away, and you'll have some resistance. But the reality is this is what's needed, both by the employees and their families and dependents, and also by the business. And actually, clients that we work with want to know, what are you doing for your well-being of your employees? And that actually helps in our argument as well. It's like, this is not just an HR benefits program, and it's not even a business initiative. It's also a client goal as well. And so I think they benefit, my time in high tech, when you and I met, when I was at Yahoo, one of the things we always said is to be innovative, to be creative, to change the world, to build for the future. You really have to have people that are engaged, that are energetic, that they feel good about themselves and the work they're doing. But a lot of that comes from their own personal well-being. So all the data and analytics over the years have proven what some of us have been saying even before the metrics were there. And now it's nice to see that we were actually somewhat accurate in what we were saying, but we had to get people to believe it. And now the businesses that are successful point to this, and they say this has really driven a lot of their business success. So it's always nice when you look in the rearview mirror and say the view I had out the front initially wasn't too far off. So that's great.
Well, Bernie, I really commend you, because I think one of the things that's happened in this pandemic is that wellbeing has moved from being something which is owned by the HR team or the reward team, the benefits team, to being owned by the business. But to an extent, what I love about your story is the fact that you were ahead of that, and you got the business involved, you got the business leaders involved a long time ago. So when the pandemic struck, you were in a position to be able to help and to build on the foundations that you had. So, Bernie, thank you so much for sharing today, and I hope you will become a regular guest and will share how things evolve over the coming years. Because I know one thing about you is you're going to continue to be innovative and to push the boundaries. So, Bernie, thank you so much for coming on today.